students can actually start winning scholarships in kindergarten. We're talking about $30,000.
I didn't know that. Scholarship for like grade school?
Yes, yes.
Big it up, big it up. Yeah. Clear in my voice. Yeah. Here we go, go. Yeah. Here we go, go.
All right, welcome to Let's Talk Real. And we've got Gabrielle McCormick from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Tell us what you do.
Thank you first for having me on, Melvin. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be able to speak with you. And so we are in the financial literacy space where we help parents pay for college for their students.
All right, and what's more real to talk about than these hundreds and hundreds of thousands or millions and billions of debt that our students are going into debt with? I know I have kids, little ones. I have one in grad school now, and that's how I first got introduced to you. You're helping my young ones pay for school, but tell us a little bit about exactly how'd you get into this from Scholarship Informers? How did you get into founding this company to help families?
So I actually was going to go to school on an athletic scholarship and ended up tearing my Achilles right before district play. So they stopped recruiting me even though I was a top player in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And they essentially said, we're sorry that happened to you. Never heard from them again. And I had a very short window of time to figure out, how am I going to pay for college? And my family was considered more so, middle class, to where it was, pastor wasn't going to give us any additional funds. And my mom said, Gabrielle, what is your plan? And so I started applying, and to date, I've won a little over $218,000 in scholarships.
$218,000. So, right, $218,000, man. I mean, for yourself. For yourself. Yeah. And so you use that to pay, I guess, undergrad, grad, and
now my doctoral degree. And had it not been for scholarships, I never would have even started my program when I was 23. But it was because I had the opportunity to, and a lot of things in place that afforded me that ability.
Wow. That's awesome. So I know that, and you've been on, ABC Nightly News, NBC USA Today. You've been on a host of other programs talking about your company, the Scholarship Informer, and how you've helped families. Just give us a scope into that. Tells us how you started, but what does your business look like now?
So we work with thousands of students every single week, helping them to win scholarships. The earliest we've ever had anyone win has actually been the 5th grade, because students can actually start winning scholarships in kindergarten. We're talking about $30,000.
I didn't know that. Scholarship for like grade school?
Yes.
I didn't know that you could get...
You've been on Google before, and you know the artwork above the box.
Right.
That Google artwork is the scholarship. And so they have it for K through 12, and they have a different theme every single year. And so the student can win $30,000. That alphabet would hold until they make their college decision. And then the school also gets a technology grant that they're able to use for whatever they need within the school.
Wow. So you help kids at 5, starting at 5 years old?
I haven't had my kindergartner yet, but 5th grade has been our earliest. We even had a middle schooler that was able to send his entire family to Ireland and represented the continent of North America for his STEM science project.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're changing. I mean, this is for some, the scholarship. I mean, what you're doing could be the difference between going to college or maybe going to work. Right. In some cases, if they don't, because a lot of folks just, they just they apply to schools. They don't really know how they're going to pay for it. They hope that, some magic grant would pop up and pay for everything. And then a lot of times students make their decisions on where they're going to go based on where they can afford.
Exactly. And our big thing is not just to get people to a debt-free degree, but to get them to the place where they're graduating debt-free with money in the bank. And so we have a lot of students. One of our very successful students in the last year, she's won $120,000. And so that additional money now has her on the path when she graduates from her undergrad degree, which is at a pretty expensive school, she's going to have money in the bank. We had another one, she graduated $70,000 in the bank, and now she's just gotten basically her dental schooling. This is her first semester she started over the summer. The rest of it's going to be free.
Wow. So I thought, and I'm learning that, so when you get a scholarship, if you get more scholarships than the tuition cost, the student actually gets to keep that money and use it to, let's say, put as a down payment on a house or something like that.
Right. It gets refunded to you. Now, there are certain rules and regulations at the school that are influenced by that, but we have students that are able to advocate sometimes within their department and get an extra $18,000 back, or $10,000 or $5,000, or even if it's $1,500, that can still pay for rent, in certain areas to take care of housing expenses.
Wow. What's the largest award that you? Well, two questions. The largest award of the student that you've held, and then also, what would you say if you had to guess on what would be the total amount of millions of dollars or tens of millions of scholarships that you've helped students get?
You know, to answer the second question first, when it comes to that, sometimes I think when the students are winning, they're so overwhelmed by winning that they think something is wrong. And we've even had parents say, I feel like I'm being greedy, that I'm winning all of this money. And I'm like, well, do you still have college to pay for? And they're like, yeah, so then you're not being greedy. And so in those cases, I mean, sometimes parents will come to us years later and say, hey, we referred this person because you helped us win an extra 30,000 years ago. So we don't even sometimes know the extent of millions of dollars. So it's hard for me to quantify that.
Right.
But I would say, I mean, we work with at least 30,000 students.
Okay.
So you can only.
So if each student gets $100, right?
These are large dollar amounts.
Okay.
And then when it comes to, we just had a student this week win 10 grand for grad school. Now her entire graduate education, or at least the first year, is paid for it. So I would say the amounts vary, but from $500 to full rides, we've seen it all.
Yeah. And what I think that a lot of students might miss is everyone's, of course, wants the home run. They want the full ride, but you can get, 500 here, 5,000 there, 1,200 there. There are lots of different scholarships, right? I mean, what you said from 500 to full ride, but what are the types of scholarships that people don't know about that they can apply for?
So this is a great question, and I don't think you are, but I'll ask it anyway. There are scholarships out there for vegans. I don't think you're a vegan.
No,
Right. I didn't.
right?
No, but there are scholarships out
I like vegan. Right?
It's $10,000 for you to talk about veganism, promoting veganism at your school. There are scholarships out there for knitting and crocheting. One of my students, she did not play fantasy football at all. She didn't even watch football. She applied for a fantasy football scholarship using her mathematical abilities and won a $75 gift card, and then it entered her into a $10,000 scholarship for her to go after.
Fantasy football scholarship. To college, right? Okay.
For college. So I mean, there's a wide variety of scholarships that you can apply for. Yes, those in your major. Yes, those around your hobbies. But I think sometimes people just think I have to be a great student to win, and that's not the case.
Okay.
It helps, but that's not the.
Okay. Yeah, I think when I was growing up, and I know a lot of my friends, we always thought, well, only the 4.0 kids get the scholarships. So sometimes that prevents a lot of people from even trying.
Exactly. And you don't have to have a 4.0 to win a scholarship. We've seen students that have awful GPAs, but because there are scholarships out there that don't even require that, you can still go after it and just tell your story. And so from there, we've seen tons of students be successful.
Wow. So how do you? So you've got a booming scholarship business, obviously. But how do people how do you get the word out? I mean, how do people? I know you do some speaking. I know you do a lot with the news organizations and that sort of thing. But what's the number one way that people actually learn about you?
So you can visit us online at scholarshipinformer.com. We also are on social media, on Twitter, Scholarship HQ, and then on Facebook and Instagram, Scholarship Informer. And we typically post scholarships. Our team does Monday through Friday, even sometimes on the weekend. And we post the ones where people will come back and comment and say, hey, I won this scholarship. My student won this scholarship. So we're not posting the most popular ones. We're posting the ones that you can actually win.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure everyone. Yeah, that's probably more important. Yeah. At the end of the day, like, don't tell me about that. That you need a 4.6 and the 1540 on the SAT to get. Right. I want to know about what can the regular student do. And I know as being in real estate, a lot of real estate agents, real estate brokers, small business owners, sometimes they might earn income, but then they're writing it off and that sort of thing. So, and some of them may even not have a means by which to get that information and get those FAFSAs and things complete. So finding a resource like you would be very helpful. And so I understand you have different programs, different packages. I know that you have lots of free resources, but that first step is going to be to go to scholarshipinformers.com
and reach out, tell them that, let me know that Melvin sent you. And I would also say, going even back to the clients that you serve, we help students win scholarships if their parents are entrepreneurs. And I know you're connected to a lot of entrepreneurs. And so it is one of those things, anything and everything about a family, about a student can be used to win scholarships. And if you are struggling with that, visit us online or reach out on social media, and we're more than happy to help you get a clear path to pay for college.
Awesome. Now, I know you have lots of, success stories. Is there one in particular that might stand out that you think about, other than your own, obviously 218,000 and paying for everything, but outside of you, a student that you helped at any age, but something that maybe was life changing for them, and getting a scholarship, of course, is life changing for everyone. But is there a story or two that really stand out of a situation that you really helped?
There are definitely a couple. One in particular, we were working with a woman that was a nun in her former life, is what she would call herself, a reformed nun. And so when we started working on her scholarship, she hadn't even started her doctoral program yet. She was getting ready to start. And I was editing her essay and I said, we got to tell this nun story. And she's like, are people really going to care about this? But she was African American and she was predominantly serving people that she didn't feel as connected to. And that's what led her to leave. And so we told that story that led to her going into psychology. And she ended up winning a baby boomer scholarship before she even started her doctoral program.
Wow. So that's a cool nun story. So I didn't even realize so a part of that, you actually help with the essay writing and everything. So it's not just you're pointing people, you're not just providing a list of scholarships.
Correct. We'll help you to find your best fit scholarships, because for her, she was a baby boomer, and also she had a great story that was in alignment with this particular organization, which was talking about, I think, like life, later on. And so with that, I mean, it made sense for her. And so she was able to win, I think it was maybe like $1,500 or $2,500. And that helped pay for part of her education. And so that was a really cool story. And then I would say some of the other ones are just like our student that just literally won $10,000 this week. She was going to have to not be able to complete or start her graduate program without scholarships, because at one point she had, $100,000 in student debt. She was able to pay some of that off, but she just really could not afford to do that. Okay. And so in her essays, we talked about how her family member, at one point, I think her grandfather, he lived in the woods for 3 years. And so she was telling her personal family story and how now she wants to go into data science and analytics to help people save their communities. And so it's all about the personal story, I think, where we see the most results and success is because we're helping people to really spread and share their legacy and what they want to do later on.
Yeah, so it sounds like at the end of the day, it's really, if they're just keeping it real, so to speak, with their story, then that's what's going to connect with the people that are providing the scholarships.
Exactly, because people are going to give you money if they feel like they know you, like you, and trust you. And they say that in business. It's the same with scholarships. If the committee feels like they know your student, that they like your student and can trust them to carry out the mission of the organization, they're more inclined to give you $1,500, $500, $5,000.
Okay. Now I know that also people should be wary a little bit too out there. There are a lot of places where they'll say, give us, $3,000, $5,000 a week guarantee, or do you have some insight as to what to look out for in terms of like scholarship scams? Because there are scams out there, right? Okay.
When in doubt, don't fill it out. Okay. And more importantly, most scholarships you don't have to pay for to actually apply. If it's someone that is providing a service to kind of coach and help, that's a little bit different. But I even tell people, even when it comes to some of the books, the listing in the books can become outdated because websites are updating their deadlines and other things. So you just have to be really careful about that. Always reach out to the organization in a respectful way. And you can just tell them, I just want to make sure I'm protecting myself online. This is a great opportunity. Could you answer a couple more questions? See if they respond. And if they don't, there are enough other opportunities that a student can apply for a scholarship.
Okay, so you're actually finding the scam from the people purporting to offer a scholarship themselves.
And we will help and analyze and tell students this is why we believe this may be a scam. But typically the FTC, they have their list of rules that I tell people definitely check out, because that's the government. You do want to check it out so that you're not getting yourself in trouble. But when it comes to if you feel like something is a scam or it's not sitting well with you, there are another opportunities or plenty others that you can substitute into where you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, so definitely don't just, if you're not sure, don't do it. What was it? What'd you say again? When it doubt, don't fill it out. Okay, so if we could just one more time, how would folks reach you now? And also, you don't just service. I mean, I think we talked. I know you do some nationwide, so they don't have to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to work with you.
You can be anywhere. The furthest we worked with a student has probably been in Egypt and Africa, and literally.
Oh, so all over the world. Okay.
So it isn't, now we predominantly do work with students that are attending U.S. schools, but we do help some that are going in Canada or other places overseas, trying to receive scholarships to travel abroad and things of that nature. But you can always reach out, scholarshipinformer.com, and then follow us on Twitter, Scholarship HQ, and then on Instagram and Facebook, Scholarship Informer.
All right, scholarshipinformer.com. And well, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the
Thank
time
you
to
for
stop by our
having me.
little
It's not
space
little.
here. And yeah, and it's
It's
good
awesome.
seeing you again. And look forward to talking to you next time.
Sounds good. Thank
All
you so
right,
much.
thank you.
Pick it
All
up,
right,
pick
bye-bye.
it up. Yeah.